Hey, future real estate moguls. Today we are diving into the world of due diligence part 3. There are many steps in this process. This was a 3-part video series. So if you didn't watch part 1 and 2, I would advise you to go back and watch those videos because you don't want to skip any steps in this process because it protects you and your real estate investing business. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about the process, join me as I unravel the essential steps to ensure a smart and informed real estate decision. Don't miss out on the key insights that can save you money, mitigate risk, and set you on the path to real estate success. So get ready to take lots of notes. In part 2 of the due diligence process, we talked about market analysis, environmental assessment, and zoning and land use analysis of a property, and why those steps are important. So today we will talk about 3 more crucial steps in the due diligence process. So watch until the end and let's get started. But first, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification button so this information can be shared with lots of people. I'm Dr. Brown. I have 13 years experience in the real estate investing market, and last year my company did $953,900 in real estate investing. Today we will look at our due diligence checklist and then explore the next 3 steps in the process. So I am going to share my screen with you, and we're going to look at the due diligence checklist and look at the steps on the checklist that we've already covered and then the steps that we're going to cover today. So in the first video, we looked at property inspection, title search and insurance, financial analysis. We looked at those 3 steps. In the second video, we looked at market analysis, environmental assessment, zoning and land use analysis. And then today we're going to look at legal and regulatory compliance, lease and tenant analysis, and insurance coverage. And this insurance coverage is different from the title insurance. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to look at why these last 3 steps are important. So I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to look at those 3 steps further. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at the next 3 steps. All right, so we're going to look at legal and regulatory compliance. So the objective for this step is to ensure compliance with legal requirements. And your actions are to check for any outstanding permits or code violations. You're going to verify compliance with fair housing laws and other regulations. Now, this action of check for any outstanding permits or code violations should pop up in the title search. However, sometimes you should double check just in case there's something, like if there's some mail that keeps coming from codes and violations, you may want to check to make sure that everything has been cleared off of the title. Because like I've said before, if you purchase a property and it does not have a clean title, then those liens, encumbrances, and violations become your problem. So you want to make sure that you do not skip any steps in the process, and that's for your protection as well. The next step is lease and tenant analysis. Sometimes when you buy properties, they have tenants in there that you inherit. So you want to make sure to evaluate existing lease and tenant relationships. You want to review current lease agreements, assess the quality of existing tenant relationships, and you want to check for any pending legal disputes or issues. You want to make sure if you inherit tenants and you intend on keeping those tenants, that you have a great relationship with them and make sure that they are up to date on their lease and their rent payments. So you want to make sure that the lease that they have is a month to month. So that protects you in case the tenant decides to stop paying rent or do something that breaches the lease, then you can give them a 30 days notice. However, if they have a yearly lease and they stop paying rent or they breach the lease, then you have to go through the eviction process. So it's very important that the tenants that you inherit have a month-to-month lease. It's less of a headache in case anything goes wrong. And last but not least is insurance coverage. So your objective is to ensure adequate insurance coverage. And your actions are review current insurance policies, assess coverage for potential risks like natural disasters or liability claims. And a lot of times the lender will require that you have adequate insurance coverage to not only protect you and the property, but to also protect them as well, because they're lending you the money. So they want to be covered in case anything goes wrong. So we're going to stop sharing here, and we're going to look at the whiteboards to see why these processes are very important. And like I said before, you don't want to skip any of these steps. All right, so we're going to open the board. And we're going to look at each one of these steps and why they are important. And I hope you are taking notes, because this is a lot of information to remember. So, and each one of these steps are so important, you don't want to miss anything. So the importance of legal and regulatory compliance in SFR investing. So there are 6 reasons why you want to follow this process. The first one is risk mitigation. You want to make sure that you are in compliance legally to help mitigate any kind of legal risk associated with property ownership. You want to mitigate any kind of landlord-tenant relationships and real estate transactions. And you just want to make sure that you are complying legally, because that ensures that the process will go through smoothly. Number 2, tenant relations. So there are fair housing laws that protect the tenant when they are renting a property. And those laws ensure that the landlord treats all tenants fairly and without discrimination. And this is what helps to foster positive tenant relationships and prevents legal issues. Because if you're a landlord and you illegally lock out your tenant, then they can sue you for a lot of money, and you don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure that you follow all the fair housing laws that are protecting and the rights of the tenant. The next one is property management. So you have landlord-tenant laws. To adhere to landlord-tenant laws is essential for effective property management, including matters related to leases, evictions, and property maintenance. So with property management, there are companies and there is also software that will help you with property management, and that is collecting rents, any kind of repairs that need to be done. Property management will do all of that for you, and then they will deposit any kind of positive cash flow into your account at the end of the month. So usually the fee for that is pretty inexpensive. Usually it's 1 month's rent and then 8 to 10% of the rent every month. And they pay all of, they pay the bills, the mortgage, the repairs, the vendors. They take care of everything. They provide you with tax forms and reconciliation forms to show how much you've paid out and what you've got coming in and what's left over. So property management is a pretty big deal, especially if you have lots of other things going on. They can take that off of your plate as far as dealing with the tenants. Financial stability, avoiding penalties. Compliance prevents financial penalties and legal costs that may arise from violation of housing, zoning, and other regulatory requirements. So when you are in compliance, it helps you and your property to be financially stable and helps to prevent any kind of financial or legal costs that may arise from you being out of compliance. Those code violations can be quite expensive if you do not take care of them. Liability protection. So insurance compliance ensures compliance with insurance requirements, protecting against liability and ensuring that insurance coverage is valid. So your insurance coverage that you have on this property protects your property. If there's any kind of damage, any kind of fire, any kind of break-in, that's going to help you with any of those damages. And a lot of time you can get insurance that will actually pay the rent if the property is vacant because of fire or damage or something where you can't actually rent it out until those things are complete. Transaction legitimacy, legal ownership. Compliance with property transfer laws and regulations ensure the legitimacy of transactions, securing legal ownership of the property. So you always want to use a closing attorney when you are transferring property, because like I said, they're going to do the title search. They're going to ensure that the liens, the encumbrances, the code violations are not on there and you get a clean title. You want to make sure, and they will also what am I looking for? They will also make sure that everything is transferred smoothly and completely, because you don't want somebody to come back and say, well, this property was not transferred correctly, so I want the property back, or I need to renegotiate the price on the property or something to that effect. So you want to make sure that your transaction is legitimate with a closing attorney. Okay, so why lease and tenant analysis is important in SFR real estate. And I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. So number one, financial stability. It ensures the tenants can afford the rent and are financially stable, reducing the risk of payment issues. So you want to make sure that these tenants are vetted properly and that you have all of the information you need to make sure that they can pay the rent every month. Risk mitigation. Thorough analysis helps identify potential risks, such as unreliable tenants or those with a history of property damage. So you want to do this background check to make sure that you're not getting tenants in there that are going to tear up your property or not pay the rent. And that property management piece is something that will help with that, because they do all of that. They vet the tenant and they make sure that the tenant is a right fit for the property. Legal compliance ensures the lease agreements comply with local rental laws and regulations. So again, with the lease agreement, you want to make sure that it covers you as a landlord, and you want to make sure that the things in there are fair to your tenants. Property maintenance clarifies responsibility of property maintenance, reducing the likelihood of disputes between landlords and tenants. So property maintenance takes that piece of the puzzle off of your plate of dealing with the tenants. They will deal with the tenants, including evictions if that needs to happen. Protecting property value. Proper tenant screening helps protect the value of the property by avoiding damage and ensuring responsible occupancy. So you want to make sure that you get the right tenants in there, because if they tear up your property, the property value is going to go down and the marketability of your property is going to go down. Legal protection. A well-drafted lease agreement provides legal protection for both the landlords and the tenants and helps resolve disputes more efficiently. Because if you have a well-drafted lease agreement, there are no misunderstandings between you and the tenant. They know what's expected of them and you know what's expected of you. Peace of mind. Landlords and property managers gain peace of mind knowing that they have reliable tenants and clear lease terms in place. So no misunderstandings. And last but not least, types of insurance coverage in SFR real estate investing and why they are important. So homeowners insurance. It typically covers the structure of the home, personal property, liability protection, and additional living expenses if the property becomes uninhabitable. And we just talked about that. If there's a reason that you cannot rent out the property, this homeowner's insurance on the property will pay the rent until you're able to get all of the damages taken care of. The importance, it protects the homeowner's investment in the property, offering financial assistance for repairs or replacements in the event of covered perils like fire, theft, or natural disasters. Renter's insurance, this covers the tenant's personal belongings and their liability protection and additional living expenses in case of displacement. For example, if there's a fire and they have to move out for a while or forever, the rental insurance will cover that for them. And the importance of that is it provides financial protection to tenants for their personal property and any kind of accidental damage to the landlord's property. And then you have landlord insurance, dwelling fire insurance. This focuses on protecting the structure of the property, loss of rental income, and liability protection for landlords. The importance is safeguards the property owner's investment, especially in the case of damage to the structure, loss of rental income, or liability claims related to the property. So all of these insurances are very important. And a lot of times, like I said, if you have to finance the property, the lender will insure or make sure that you have enough coverage to protect you, protect them, and protect the property. And last but not least is umbrella insurance. This coverage provides additional liability protection beyond the limits of homeowners and landlord insurance. So this is another layer of protection for the landlord. And that's what it says. The importance, it offers an extra layer of protection, particularly for property owners in case of severe liability claims that exceed the standard coverage limits. So this is going to be like a supplement to your primary homeowners and landlord coverage. So this umbrella insurance is something that would give you a peace of mind if your tenants aren't vetted all the way, or if you just like that extra security. So these are the last 3 steps in the due diligence process. And remember, I said we're probably going to have, I'm going to close this whiteboard. We're probably going to have a bonus video about the appraisal process, because that is very important as far as the equity and the appreciation that you receive when you invest in real estate. You want to make sure that you are not overpaying for something and that you're getting the quality that you were promised from the seller. All right, so this was part 3. I hope you got a lot of value from it. And please like, subscribe, and ring the note and push the notification button so that you can see when more videos are coming out. So I will talk with you later, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.